Take a look. They're on the screen there. Seahawks are at the top after an overtime win against Denver at home, which takes them to 2-1. Seattle lost to the Chargers in San Diego. Skip's prediction. And then handily beat the Packers in Week 1 when Aaron Rodgers was not Aaron Rodgers, just bad. Nate, you live in Seattle and you play for the Seahawks, so we're putting you on the hook. Thanks for joining us, by the way.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Nate Burleson, free agent, hanging out with us here. Here's the question. Do you believe, in your honest opinion, you can't give us Homer, is Seattle as good as they were last year?
Before I answer that question, I heard Stephen A. Smith say something about the NFL resembling the LFL. I'm just going to tell you, I felt some type of way about that, but we will address that once we get off the air because you kind of attacked my league. But it's cool, though. I'm going to let that ride. Now,
you would need to on this show, but go ahead.
Getting back to the Seahawks, no, they're not as good as they were last year. Offense seems to be pretty consistent.
Right.
Seems to be the same. I think last year, through 3 weeks, it was 86 points they scored. This year, 83. Defense, on the other hand, they've only given up 27 points last year up to this point. Now it's 66, and that's a big difference given the fact that their defense is their strength, or was known as their strength. So the certain sense of invincibility that they had in 2013, they just don't have it. And I see teams approaching them in that sense. Not so much Peyton. Peyton and the Broncos didn't seem as if they had the rhythm they wanted, but Phillip Rivers sure wasn't scared, talked about it, played like it. And I think for the rest of the season, most teams going in are going to attack them that way. Not taking it a knock against the champions, but once you're the champions, it's similar to the Jay-Z and Kanye album. You got to watch the throne, and everybody's shooting for the throne right now. And they're just not as good as they were.
Stephen A., he says teams don't just seem as scared. Invincibility factor no longer there. Your take?
Well, I definitely think that's the case with Seattle. It's not to say that Seattle is not supremely talented and not worthy of being the champions that they are. But anytime you're the champion, people are going to be emboldened to go against you because they want to knock you off your perch. And so that's what they're faced with right now. Not to mention the fact that, again, even though their offense, as far as I'm concerned, is much improved because you see Percy Harvin in that lineup from opening day doing his thing, and the combination of Percy Harvin. And I love this kid Lockett. I love what I've seen from him as well. And, of course, you still have Doug Baldwin there. I just like what I'm seeing from them, and the beast mode himself, Marshawn Lynch. We all know. And Russell Wilson is just playing at a very high level. But defensively, I think losing Clemens and Red Bryant to Jacksonville, I think that's messed with them a little bit because even though you still have the crew that they have, you got Averill over there now with the Legion of Boom. You got Thomas and Chancellor at your safety spot. You got Maxwell and Sherman at your corners. You just look at these boys in terms of the kind of pressure they're capable of putting on you. Seattle is legit, no doubt, but they don't have the depth that they once had in the front seven. And so you do find yourself having the mentality, just chip away, stay in the game, and you'll have a chance. And that's what we saw Denver do this past weekend. So as a result of that reality, the fact is you look at Seattle and you know they're still formidable. You know that they're lethal. But at the same time, you believe that they could be had, particularly if you can get them away from Seattle.
Stephen A., I figured that you were going to say that Richard Sherman's problem so far has been he hasn't eaten enough Oberto beef jerky.
Is that, you thought that was his argument?
I thought that was coming, but I didn't hear it, so I thought I'd set you up for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the little voice in his stomach.
Yeah,
I'll talk
he's
to him
not
about
listening
that.
to that little voice enough. Okay, back to the question. Silly me, I think Seattle's a little better than it was a year ago. And I called that game at San Diego before the year. I said they're going to lose that game because nobody competes the way Phillip Rivers can compete.
True.
They were all over him all day. And I know, I've told Stephen A., I think they missed Red Bryant and Clemens, maybe for like senior leadership in the locker room as much as pass rush, but they are missing it a little bit. But Bennett and Averill and those guys, they were all over Phillip Rivers, and he was ducking and dodging and throwing little sidearm flips to Antonio. I don't know how he was doing it, but he pulled it off. And they just played keep away the whole game from a Seattle offense that is clearly, to me, better than it was last year, just because the young quarterback just gets a little better every game. To me, he's playing, as Stephen A. said, at an extremely high level.
Yes.
And yet, the other day against Peyton and company, they're up 17-3 at half, and they just took their foot off the gas. I don't know what got into them. I don't know what got into Darrell Bevell because he's got all those weapons, starting with Percy Harvin, And in one possession, as I pointed out on Monday in the fourth quarter, they went 4 times, 4 targets to, wait a second, Brian Walters? You know little Brian Walters, the punt returner?
Yeah,
they
number 19.
targeted him 4 times. And I'm saying, where's Nate Burleson? They might as well sign him.
Right
They need
away.
Nate. Get him back. If that's what you're down to, if you don't think Curse and Baldwin, and I don't know what happens to Percy Harvin, he just disappears for long stretches of the game. I don't know if he goes in the doghouse. I don't know if he's nicked.
Fatigue, maybe?
Maybe fatigue. I don't know. I don't know if they're trying to save him from himself because he plays like kamikaze crazy. Once he gets the ball, he just plays full tilt, and he does not protect himself very well. But you want to talk about a game breaker. That guy is the game breaker in the National Football League. So offensively, to me, they're definitely more dangerous than they were a year ago. And defensively, they had, just one rocky game to me in 118-degree temperatures in San Diego. Oh, come on. And they're all getting IVs at halftime. I'm not going to hold that against them.
Are you giving them excuses right now?
Yeah, I think he is.
I'm not. I'm just saying, I said they were going to go 15-1 because I don't have that much respect for San Francisco or Arizona. And I know they got to play those 4 games coming up.
They're going 15-1 this year.
I got them going 15-1. And they're going to have close games, close division games. They might have close games with St. Louis, for all I know, just because that's what happens in this league. But I believe they can win the rest of their regular season games.
I don't think they're going 15-1. You made some good points. The one thing I noticed about the offense, Russell Wilson is playing at a high level. You cannot doubt that. I would like to see them feed the beast more, not just Skittles. Give Marshawn the ball more. He is an absolute monster. And I think they need to ride that wave. If you have questions about the receivers, Percy Harvin not showing up in the fourth quarter, maybe it's fatigue, injury, being banged up, you got to give Marshawn the ball and ride that wave. Defensively, they're just as talented. I agree with Steven. They're just as talented, but there's something about the bully on the block after he gets in a fight with a kid who's not scared. And right now, that bully doesn't look like the same bully he was last year. And I agree, they're still good. They're just not as good. The question is, are they as good as last year? Do I think they're going to go 15-1? I don't think so.
Yeah, Michael Robinson said the same thing, though.
Do I think they have a chance to win the Super Bowl?
About it. And I don't know,
He said they're losing something. They lost something in the locker room.
In the locker room. And he was talking about himself as their fullback, obviously, just retired. And those 2 veteran players who went to Jacksonville, Clemens and Red Bryant. Okay, and he was strong. He didn't even think they'd get, to the AFC, the NFC Championship game.
Those are strong words from a former player. But I think that they do have the talent to get to the NFC Championship game and steal the Super Bowl. But here's the thing. If they take a couple crucial losses, some close ones, that's going to change the complexion of that team. And it's going to change not just the complexion of the team, but the perception of everybody else who's playing.